Welcome to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. I'm your host, Mari Reesberg. Over the past several years, I've combined my degrees in acting and somatic psychology to share my sustaining creativity techniques with performers. And now I've decided to share it with a bigger audience that includes you. I believe we are all creative, and this podcast is all about that. I'll be interviewing people from all backgrounds, ages, and creativity experiences to share just how creative we all are. Today, I'll be chatting with Kerry Damiano, Miss World Traveler. Please enjoy Kerry Damiano. Welcome to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. Today I'm here with Kerry Damiano, Miss World Traveler, and also you have such a history in the world of pageants, and it sounds like you have worn just about every hat you could possibly wear in that world. But welcome to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast.
I'm so excited to be here.
I am so excited for you to be here. Why don't you take a couple of moments and let our listeners know a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Okay. Well, I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, not originally, but then nobody is originally from Phoenix. We all come for the weather and end up staying. So I've lived here for almost 40 years now, and I've had my own business for 24 years. And so I do lots of different things. And I would say nearly all of them are women's interest. So beauty, fashion, pageantry, travel, design, all of that sort of thing.
I love it. How did you get in? How did you find yourself in this women's interest industry?
Found me because I left. It wasn't corporate America, it was small business, but it was electrical transformers and printed circuit boards. And, I feel like I really cut my teeth learning about business and about managing people during that time. And it also was a steady paycheck, which allowed me to travel. That's where I really got started, traveling. But it wasn't really me. It was just sort of the foundation that I needed then to have my own business. And once I did, then I started getting to do the things that I was really passionate about and basically turning all my hobbies into business.
I love that. What was your first big trip that you went on?
Okay, well, I'll go back even further because I would say the first big trip was my college graduation trip where my mom took me overseas for the first time. But going back before that, I was on the swim team and the track team and, all of that growing up. And my mom, she was really quite fearless. She would load us up in the car, and my dad was busy working, and she and her three kids, we'd go to swim meets and, just really all over. And so I grew up with someone who wasn't afraid to be independent, to just, go and do. And so I think by osmosis, I learned that women don't have to wait for someone to go with them. They can just go.
I love that. That's amazing. And the world of pageants and design and all of the other industries and pieces that you found yourself in, what was that draw? Were you in pageants yourself and things kind of came from that? Or how did you find yourself in that world?
Yes. Well, it's really kind of what you're just talking about. I started late, all things considered. I was in college and I just felt this call, this call to my heart, to my spirit to do it. And I argued with myself for a while until I just, okay, God, if you want me to do this and you bring somebody into my life that can sort of show me the way, because at this time, this was the early 80s, there was no internet, there was no Googling something. You actually had to look things up in the yellow pages.
Yeah.
And so, and I just didn't know where to go. And so I ended up just by this weird chance of meeting this woman who had an affiliation with pageantry, and she got me started. And then once I did that, got hooked, got addicted. there's just such a wonderful sisterhood.
Mhm.
It's really about women supporting each other and help, motivating each other to
Mhm.
be the best that you can be. And there was just something that really spoke to me about that. And so that's why I've never left.
You've never left. I love it. I mean, what a wonderful way to continue to keep that part of yourself alive and growing and
Yeah.
evolving. When you think of, creativity, because I imagine there's so much creativity that shows up in your life and your world, what does it mean to you to be creative?
I never really thought about what it meant to me because it was something that so intrinsic to who I am that I never really put a label on it, like I'm creative. And part of that I think stemmed from when I was really young. I used to do these color drawings, just lots and lots of colors, just all over the page, but I couldn't draw to save my life. And so I didn't think I was artistic
Mm.
because I couldn't draw. But I had kind of a thing with color. And so, based on that, you find what appeals to you, what artistic expressions work for you, and then don't worry about the things that don't, right?
Absolutely.
Because all of us kind of do that. For example, for a long time I was working with glass, and I loved like the kiln glass,
Mhm.
fused glass.
Yeah.
And it was pretty good at it as I did it for a while. And so I decided I was going to expand my skill set, and I tried stained glass. And while I enjoyed it, it did not click. It was not for me. So it's not everything having to do with glass was my creative pursuit, but I did find something that really spoke to me.
Yeah, I love that allowing yourself to try something new and recognizing, oh, that's not the spark of joy and creative expression that I'm
Yeah.
looking for, but this over here, using the same material, absolutely is.
Yes. Have you ever had that happen
Oh,
where
yeah.
you think, I think I can conquer that? And you're like, uh-oh.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Those moments of, I think this is going to work. And then you realize, no, it's not. And that's okay. It's
It's
okay.
okay. You tried, right?
Right, exactly. Stepping outside that comfort zone to give something new a try. Yeah. Well, in the vein of creativity, I'm so curious what, creative sparked you to step into this world of Ms. World Traveler and showing up in that space.
Well, that really is it was over 20 years in the making. And so it's this marriage of many of the things that I'm interested in. And I like style, design, fashion, art, antiques, sort of thing. And so when I travel, that's what I'm drawn to. And as I was looking at what some other travel bloggers are doing, they're giving you great tips about where to go, where to eat, where to stay, what to do, that sort of thing. So I kind of knew that I had to be different, and I'm different anyway,
Mhm.
because that's not my interest. My interest is history, culture, local color, handicrafts, shopping, some of those more creative types of
Mhm.
things. And so that's how I sort of married the two into what Ms. World Traveler is. It's a web series or a show that sort of takes you along to this different way of travel than maybe what some of the other people
I
are doing.
love that. I love
Yeah.
that. I mean, it's so fascinating to see those aspects in different culture and the handicrafts and the, places that you would find them and maybe off the beaten path and not necessarily in the spaces that most people would think, oh, I'm going to travel there.
Yes. Well, exactly. Right. And you can find inspiration anywhere. Right.
Ah, absolutely. Where do you in the multitudes of things that you do, where does your inspiration come from these days?
Ooh, it comes from a number of different things. I would say probably the primary thing is color.
Hmm.
When I see a beautiful color, I'm inspired by that. And maybe it's a fabric. And sometimes I look at a beautiful fabric and I know exactly what I'm going to do with it.
Mhm.
Other times I look at it and say, I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but inspiration will come and I have to have it. And then I do have a room in my house, right? Fabrics, because I know that, at some point I will see it and it will just snap that that's exactly what I'm supposed to do. In fact, I had this happen to me somewhat recently. I go to the Global Beauty Awards every year, which is the pageant industry's version of the Academy Awards.
Okay.
And, I designed a custom gown for myself and work on it for months. And this year I had worked on it and I had this beautiful gown. And when I put it on to wear it, it was so heavy with these sort of crystal discs on it that I had taken many hours to put on. It was so heavy I couldn't walk.
Oh no.
And this and I couldn't even breathe. And this is 3 weeks before the award ceremony. So I'm like, okay, I have to start from scratch now. What am I going to do? So I went into my fabric room and just there, something I already had for a couple of years, and this feather boa I'd had for a couple of years. I saw them and they went together and worked it. And in 3 weeks, I put together a beautifully designed gown that nobody would have known was sort
Yeah.
of a last minute throw it together had I not told them. So that's just an example of beautiful fabric in pretty colors that
Mhm.
I did with that, but it came to me at the right time.
Absolutely. I'm so curious the what you were explaining, like having spent so much time on that initial dress and recognizing, oh, this is not going to work, and having a short amount of time, so a little more boundaries. And
Yes.
which of those two situations do you find you thrive in?
Uh, I would say the one that I got to take my time and really come up with a design and really let it percolate. And, yes, that was much more comfortable for me, though I can do the other. So it,
Yeah.
it always just is funny to me when I'll ask somebody now, are you working on your dress for the thing? Oh, no, I haven't started yet. I'm like, what? It's part of the joy for me to think in my head, to come up with a design and what do I have and what am I looking for and what color and what kind of design, and maybe looking online to get some inspiration from different sleeves or
Mhm.
just different shapes to coming up with that moment of when
Yeah,
you
that
come up
that
with
light
something,
bulb.
that light bulb that is so exciting, that's part of the joy for me. And so to cut that process short.
Yeah. Is that a similar process for you in travel, or does travel look very different that you could pick up and go on a moment's notice?
No, I'm a planner.
Okay.
I want to plan. Yeah, I want to plan. I want to be organized. And part of that started, well, I think it's just part of my personality, for one. But part of it was, when I first started out, budget was pretty tight. And
Mhm.
you can save a lot more money when you book things far in advance
Right.
than, if you try and do it by the seat of your pants. That doesn't mean there aren't good deals out there, last minute deals. But
Absolutely.
just for me, I want to know where I'm going, what I'm doing, and then it's on my schedule and I can work everything else around it.
Yeah.
I I can I can, be flexible
Mhm.
and do something, stick something in really quick. But overall, I kind of want to have the layout of everything planned and then everything else just works around it.
That makes so much sense. I too am a planner. So I appreciate having the plan and the willingness to be flexible within the plan, but needing the plan
Yes.
to have that structure.
Have you ever taken a trip where you didn't have your hotels? You're just like, well, wherever I feel like stopping on the road tonight, I'm going to try and get a hotel.
Oh, yes.
You're really? How was that? Did that just drive you crazy?
Well, I was a lot younger, and so there was there was kind of a allure about it of figuring that out. And one of the times was I flew to Paris not having a place to stay and met someone
No.
on the plane who made a reservation for me once we got there.
Oh my goodness. You were lucky.
I was very lucky. Yes. Yeah, in terms of like people wanting to get into the world of travel or the world of pageants and all these things that you have spent quite some time doing. I'm curious what you would say to them or say even to your younger self about getting into these businesses or these two separate worlds.
Mhm. Well, I would say baby steps.
Hmm.
A lot of women ask me about, and I always say, especially if you're going to go by yourself, because that's one of the greatest fears that women have
Yeah.
is, well, I don't know if I can do it by myself, or what if I get lonely, or what if it's too expensive for me to do by myself, or, don't you wish you had somebody with you? They have all these reasons why they don't want to do it by themselves, or even if they have someone that they, it's too far to go, it's a whole different culture and whole different eating and all of those things that create some fear, some trepidation. And so I like to say, start with a baby step, which might be maybe, going to another town that's not that far away by yourself. Spend a weekend or just even spend a night and see how you do, and see how that feels when you don't have a huge expense, invested in it yet.
Yeah.
And then if you find out, I just didn't have a good time, well, now you know that maybe that's not going to be the thing for you. Don't start with going to Russia,
Right.
right? That's too big a step.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I can only imagine how many challenges or last minute snafus have happened in both travel and pageant worlds. How do you face these last minute challenges or creative challenges in your experience?
Well, I was just involved in that big global outage a few
Oh,
weeks ago. You remember
yeah,
that? I
yeah.
was stuck right in the middle of it, delayed for 3 days, didn't get a suitcase, missed a couple of important family events that I was traveling for. So, yes, there's some things that you can do. And I think one of the first things is don't blow your stack. Don't lose your head, right? Because getting angry, getting upset, doesn't change anything. It doesn't make the lines go faster.
Sure.
When there's 300 people ahead of you in line,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't go faster because you got mad and said, I need to be somewhere. We all needed to be somewhere,
Yeah.
right? So stay calm, don't get angry, and especially the people who are helping you, that wasn't their fault.
Yeah.
They can't change the weather, they can't change the plane mechanics, they can't fix the computer. So
Mhm.
getting upset doesn't do anything. The other thing is, if you've planned for it, then you're not as worried about time. I mean, obviously there's a thing like I didn't get my bag. All my cosmetics are in my bag. So, all right, I planned, I have enough in my purse that I can be presentable,
Mhm.
for the next day. It's not ideal.
Yeah.
It's okay. And then I like to also say, work with an airline to work up to get some perks. So I
Mm,
pretty much fly exclusively with Delta, unless I'm in a foreign country and, you have to take a commuter flight.
sure.
And by doing that, I've worked my way up to having some status. So I get some perks. They book me on things. I don't have to pay for baggage fees. I
Mhm.
get grades, some of those kind of things that you just feel taken care of. And
Yeah,
when everything's going wrong around you, it feels nice to have that little bit of being taken care of.
absolutely. Those are great tips on how to navigate challenges that you experience.
and,
Yeah.
and you will. It's not a matter of if, it's
Yeah.
when, right?
Yes.
You will run into those kinds of things.
Absolutely. Well, in the world that you work within and navigating personalities and other people and people who may not feel creative or struggle to find their creative spark, how would you encourage them to find creativity in their life?
I'm going to say the same thing, baby steps. Because I gave you an example of the glass, but I'll give you another one. I decided I was going to learn to crochet. So I went to a class, and by the end of the class, my hands looked like an arthritic mess. They hurt and they were all painful and everything. Okay, well, that obviously was not the right creative outlet for me. That doesn't mean
Mhm.
I'm not creative.
Yeah.
So it's more trying some different things, maybe without a great investment of time. Don't go out and buy all the yarns and all the different things until you see if that is something that's going to work for you. Take a class, learn how to do it right. Now you can do it on YouTube, do a tutorial, just again to see. But if it doesn't work, try something else, because there will be something. This might not be that thing.
Yeah, great reminder that if the first thing doesn't work for you, keep going, keep trying.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going. Right.
Oh my goodness. Well, this has been such a treat to chat with you. I have one last question.
Okay.
What does it feel like in your body to be creative?
Ooh, sometimes I have so many creative ideas floating through my head that I almost can't sleep. They're coming fast and furious. And I love that, because then I get up in the morning and I'm energetic and I just got to do something, right? Other times I would say, like, my creative tank is on empty. And I've had to learn to be comfortable with that, to have some projects strewn around the house that are in various stages of progress, and just be comfortable with saying, when I finally get that spark of inspiration again, it will come and I'll go do it and get it done. But if I don't have it, I'm not going to force it. So that's been a good lesson learned over time.
Yeah, tolerating the empty tank sometimes and needing to give that permission to go with
waiting
it.
for it to fill back up, and maybe that's a month, and maybe that's 6 months or whatever. And that's okay.
Oh, I love that permission. I think that's so important. Thank you for adding that in for us. And thank you for taking the time to chat with me. If people want to learn more about the things that you do, how could they go about doing that?
Well, you can follow me on Ms. World Traveler. We have Facebook. We have a YouTube. That's where our show is. We have Instagram, and that's Kerry, Ms. World Traveler, Kerry, Kerry, Ms. World Traveler. And so those are some places you can sort of follow, see what's going on. And I do a lot of my pageantry kind of at the same time. So I blend everything together all under one umbrella.
I love it. Well, I will add those links to show notes so people have easy access. And thank you again for taking the time to chat with me. It's been a pure pleasure.
Great pleasure too. We could have talked all day.
We totally could have. Oh my gosh, absolutely. Yes. Thanks for listening to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. We'd love to keep in touch, so follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We are at Sustaining Creativity. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Tag your friends and family so they can listen too. We love to hear from you, so leave your reviews, comments, and questions. Check out our website, sustainingcreativity.com, for upcoming offerings and creativity coaching. Tune in Tuesdays for our next episode. And remember, with creativity, anything's possible.